The City Council meeting of August 10th is about to begin, starting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May we have roll call?
Jerry DiTullio.
Here.
Zachary Urban.
Present.
Christy Davis. Bud Starker.
Present.
Tim Fitzgerald.
Here.
George Pond.
Present.
Genevieve Wooden.
Present.
And Tracy Langworthy.
Here.
Madam Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Are there any changes to the minutes of July 27 or to study session notes of July 20, 2015? No changes? Then the minutes are approved as delivered. I don't believe we have any proclamations tonight. We do move into citizens' right to speak. And this would be on an agenda item, a matter not on the agenda, for a maximum of 3 minutes. And here comes our list. Yes.
Hi, my name is John Clark. I'm at 4665 Swadley Street. I said I was going to be positive tonight, and I got 3 quick things. First one is I want to encourage everyone to support TIF referendum or TIF reform ballot question number 300. Seems like a win-win. We can still use TIF money when possible for all the quality projects in Wheat Ridge that come along, and voters get a say. Voters get to vote, voters get to say before we spend over 2.5 million. So, second, I'd like to encourage everyone to come out this coming weekend to the Carnation Festival. Should be a good time, and it's always a great parade. I think Wheat Ridge High School has their pride band in the parade, and the STEM car from Detroit should be in the parade, so that'll be great. And the third and final thing is I didn't see anybody at the Jeffco Fair that's up on the dais. And if anybody was up there that I missed, I'm sorry, but I'd really like to encourage everybody to hit that fair. Some of our Wheat Ridge kids did really, really well, took home some good hardware, and it's just, it's our fair, and Wheat Ridge wants to talk about sustainability. Excuse me, but you know, driving a Subaru and drinking wine coolers doesn't make you a sustainability hero. These kids out here, they know what sustainability is, what real sustainability is, not the tag word or the keyword sustainability. And there was a lot of tears when all those market animals go off to slaughter, and it's hard for 7 to 8-year-olds, 12 and 14-year-olds to raise a market animal. But these kids are the ones that know where their burger comes from, where their bacon comes from. So I encourage you guys to make it maybe next year. I do have kind of a little inside track if you guys want to maybe be in the celebrity auction, because this year we had House District 24 Rep Jesse Danielson was out there. Jeffco Commissioner Don Rozier was out there. Jeffco Sheriff Jeff Schrader was out there. And Jeffco Superintendent Dan McMenemy came out. And I think they all got a quick lesson in humility when these kids had to show them how to show a goat, and they actually had to go out and do it. So if any of you guys want to do that next year, come see me. And I actually was able to wrestle away a couple of the belt buckles that some of the kids won. So after the meeting, if anybody wants to see that hardware, I'll show it to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Amanda Stevens? Please
Thank
give
you,
your
Mayor.
address.
Certainly. Thank you, City Councilors. Amanda Stevens, 7001 West Kentucky Avenue from Lakewood. I'm here tonight to introduce myself. I'm a candidate for the Jefferson County School Board this fall, running for District 4 seat. I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself and let you know that I'll be sending an email to all of you to follow up, so that if we're able to sit down for a sit-down conversation at some point, I'd really welcome that. So I was born and raised here in Jefferson County. My parents still live in the house that they bought when I was just 3 months old. I was a proud student of Jeffco and succeeded as a strong student, earned strong grades, and received recognition as a National Merit Honorable Mention. However, during high school, I became disconnected, and I left and I earned my GED. That later motivated me to become an educator. After earning my master's in education, I taught for 8 years, both in Chicago as well as nearby Sheridan, Colorado. So I have classroom experience and understand the hard work it takes to transform students' futures by developing their potential. I've also spent time in the last 7 years as a mom focused on things like PTA volunteering, school accountability chairperson or co-chair for 4 years at their elementary school, as well as some district committees like the Choice Committee and the Strategic Planning Advisory Committee, which is the district level accountability team. During that time, I've become familiar with the amazing Jeffco community where all stakeholders come together to serve the best interests of kids. That's what I intend to do as a member of the school board myself. I'm going to pursue excellence in learning outcomes for students, in the opportunities that they have access to, as well as the relationships that nurture safety and their ability to thrive in those schools and into the future. I also believe deeply in transparency because decisions at the school board table affect families, educators, and our communities, and it matters deeply that we hold ourselves accountable through that kind of transparency. Finally, I believe cooperation is the best way forward. We do our greatest thinking when we listen to each other, and I believe that we will continue to do great things for students when we come together. Finally, I'll just leave you with a quick story. When I was a teacher in Chicago, there was a time when I yelled at a student. I said, "You have a slinky in my class. There's a 5-paragraph essay to write. Do you really want to be sent out of my classroom for that?" Well, he wouldn't relent, so I did send him out, and he returned later that day with a counselor in tow. He said, "I'm sorry that I was playing with a slinky in your class," but he also said, at the counselor's prompting, "I had it because the counselor gave it to me this morning. I lost my cousin this weekend to neighborhood violence, and I was present for that." What I realized at that time is that sometimes our own agendas are not the most important one, and that if we don't take the time to listen and ask one another your thoughts and perspectives, that we'll never do as well as we do when we do it together. So thanks very much for your time. Hope to connect again.
Thank you, Amanda. I don't have anyone else signed up. So we're going to go ahead and move into the agenda. Are there any changes to tonight's agenda? Nope. Okay, ordinance on first reading. Let's see who I have here. Jen Wooden.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to introduce Council Bill Number 19-2015, an ordinance amending Chapter 26, Article 8 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws concerning floodplain regulations. At issue, the Community Rating System, CRS, is a voluntary incentive program managed by the National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP. The CRS program recognizes and encourages floodplain management that exceeds minimum NFIP standards, and in turn provides discounted flood insurance rates to the community. The proposed amendments are recommended for several reasons, but fundamentally because they introduce additional safeguards that improve public safety, enhance hazard protection, and provide potential savings for residents in flood zones. This requires an amendment to Chapter 26, Article 8 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws pertaining to floodplain control.
This is first reading, so please go ahead and give us a motion.
Okay. I move to approve Council Bill Number 19-2015, an ordinance amending Chapter 26, Article 8 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws concerning floodplain regulations on first reading, order it published, public hearing set for Monday, September 14th, 2015 at 7 p.m. in City Council chambers, and that it take effect 15 days after final publication.
Do you need a second?
Second.
Mr. Urban seconded. And go ahead and cast your votes.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you. Item number 2, Mr. Starker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm pleased to introduce item number 2. This is a motion to approve award of RFP 15-20, 38th Avenue Public Outreach and Streetscape Design Services to Bertina Design Group, Arvada, Colorado, in the contract amount of $101,623. At issue in this. At the May 18th study session, Council directed staff to prepare and issue a request for proposal, an RFP, to obtain streetscape design consult consultant for the implementation of the 38th Avenue Corridor Plan adopted by City Council in October 2011. The streetscape design consultant will develop a comprehensive public process to achieve community consensus on a revised streetscape design. Bratina Design Group was selected using the established procurement process to provide public outreach and streetscape design services for the 38th Avenue Street reconfiguration for a fee of $101,623.
That would be sufficient.
Okay.
Yep. Do we have any presentation or staff on this item tonight?
No presentation unless council has questions.
Questions? Mr. Tutilio?
So on the May 18th study session, we talked about streetscape and amenities, and I think that generally the public agrees with streetscape and amenities, especially if it's the streetscape and the amenities like east of Harlan. We had talked about lanes, different types of lanes, 3 lanes, 4 lanes, or a hybrid. So where in this process is this consultant going to talk to the public about options for laneage?
Yeah, the first, Councilmember DiTullio, the first part of the first phase of the consultant services will be to do public outreach and engage stakeholders to get input. Our first full public meeting, we're not anticipating till January, but we're going to be doing, the consultant doing an extensive amount of public outreach prior to that. So during that process, they will be asking those kinds of questions, getting that kind of input. The one thing we did really want to get out of this was a consultant that is very experienced and very good at public process and getting stakeholder input. We feel that's critical for any project or planning study we did, but particularly this one.
So by the January 14th, 2016 first public meeting, is there going to be still the ability on January 14th, February 11th, and then also March 10th, I believe, is there going to be options for the public to say what types of laneage they were expecting or wanting?
Correct. There's going to be lots of opportunities through this process for that.
Thank you.
Other questions? Ms. Davis?
So I just have, it's not as much a question, but a comment. So I know a lot of, I know there's folks that, the lanes and the number of lanes and those types of things is important. And, there could be potential options for a little bit of both or hybrid. I know we already have some other groups getting together talking. But I think, like one of the things I see, which I know is going to have to be addressed, is like driving down 38th, which I do every day, is like, for instance, by the new townhomes, there is all that parking, and I have to say, that parking is full in that area. So, I mean, I'm guessing as a part of the Perrins Road development, I don't know if those parking spaces were designated as property owner. It's on a public street, so not necessarily, but it might have been accounted for in some of the public parking process. But I think, are those things going to be discussed and also put in the project with this group? Because, again, I drive by anywhere from 6 in the morning to 8 in the morning, and there's at least 6 cars out there.
Yes, definitely. Evaluating the parking out there will be part of the consultant services. And as you mentioned, there's a variety of different options, even hybrids that could happen out here. There's different segments. There's, for example, Pierce to Harlan, Pierce to Upham, those kinds of things. And so all sorts of things could happen. But parking is a big part of that because we want to get a good idea from the stakeholders. Do you need the parking, or how important is it or not important? And that'll all be part of...
Do you know if those parking spaces were kind of designated to the builder or to that development, that those would be, guest parking, or, was that anything in that, how, I know when you build and you have to have so many parking spaces per, was that street any part of that discussion?
It was not for the resident owner
Right.
property parking, but it was part of the analysis. If parking was available for guests, there is no on-site guest parking,
Okay.
Unless the property owners allow them to park in their spot. But it was considered additional parking in addition to the side street too.
Okay.
So yes. And if I could comment too, the intent of this contract is, and process is, that everything is out on the table again. This is a clean slate, and there's no predetermined design or options at this point in the process. Of course, we have a lot of information that City Council and the public and staff has already gone through, and we can use that as a base, but again, there's no predetermined outcomes at this point.
So the comment is that there's nothing planned in advance for it, which is great, no predetermined design. And I noted that there was some extra cost to this particular design work because there is going to be an extensive amount of public support, not support, but input opportunity to be a part of the planning.
Yes, that's true. We did recommend that we pay the additional fees for the additional public outreach process that is incorporated in the contract.
Any other questions? Yes, Mr. Urban.
With respect to that public outreach, will that be occurring before or after the election? Because it would seem to me that would kind of get lost in the shuffle if it was done before November. But I don't know what the timeline is for that.
I think that as Mr. Tulio said, the first official meeting is January 14th, but before that, we're going to be doing extensive outreach to make sure everybody understands that we're going through this process again. We've invited a representative from this company, Bertina, to come to the town hall meeting on August 31st to announce that they've been hired by the city. This is what we've been asked to do, and this is what the process is going to be, and they're going to continue that through the end of the year, just to make sure that the whole public understands that this process is coming up. But January 14th will be really the first sit-down formal meeting.
But as far as those mailings that are going out, that wouldn't happen until January?
No, I think some of that could happen before. I don't know if there's mailings planned or.
Yeah, there's mailings planned. I mean, when we get to the January meeting, there'll be an extensive outreach citywide, but prior to that, much earlier, we'll be reaching out to the key stakeholders. That'll be, businesses along the corridor, people that have been involved to date, the key players. So there will be quite a bit of an outreach before November.
And then what was the difference between Tool and the selected group as far as proposal cost? What was the deciding factor between the two groups?
Yeah, as far as cost goes, they were almost identical in the fee they proposed. I think what impressed us most about with Bertina was their experience and their means of engaging the public and doing a good public outreach, public process. We were impressed with Tool's proposal as well, but we thought the strength of Bertina's public process part of it, which we feel is essential on this, was the deciding factor.
They've worked on several other projects across the metro area, very similar to this one, where it was difficult to build a consensus on final design of a product, and we reached out to those communities, and they highly recommended Bertina also for that process.
Great. Mr. DiTullio?
Well, I was feeling pretty good about it until you mentioned that you're going to reach out to the previous stakeholders. Are we going to have this so that we're getting new people and new comments, not just the same 50 people that?
Yeah, but we do have an established list of people that were involved. We want to make sure that they're notified and that they understand that we're going through another process. But of course, then we'll reach out to everybody else too.
So how are you going to reach out to everybody else? Is there going to be another generic mailing, or is it going to be some kind of a contact through a poll or something?
I don't know is there specifics on that?
Well, there's going to be a variety of things, and that was one of the things that impressed us about Bertina and the public outreach is the methods in which they go out and do that. There's, the traditional ways we've done things, like with mailings and posting on the websites, but they showed us some innovative things they've done, whether it's going out to community events or you have information stands set out at certain businesses where the traveling public in the course of their day-to-day can actually stop and see a place to give input. The barcodes that connect you with our website and a survey, those kinds of things. So we're going to try and just cast as wide a net as we can in getting public input. Probably compared to other projects we've done public outreach, this is going to be very, very extensive.
Well, and that's good. And my concern is that we catch those neighborhoods that had the cut-through traffic going from 38th to 32nd or 38th to 44th. Those districts 1 and 2 where they've been impacted by the cut-through traffic. So the general person who lives in those areas that's been impacted, that's the folks I want to hear from too, besides the other 50 or 60 people, the stakeholders, whatever it is. And if they do something like that, that's great.
Yeah, and also inflected in the fees is to do a citywide mailing, so we're going to reach out to the whole city
Okay,
as well.
good.
Thank you, Scott. Now, we do have someone, are we through with council questions? Okay. I see we have one person signed up for item number 2. I believe it is.
Vivian Voss, 6920 West 47th Place. Good evening. I am here to give you my thoughts and perspective on item number 2, which is the streetscape design consultant to develop a comprehensive public process to achieve community consensus on a revised streetscape design. And I did have a question on whether this was going to be a new design, and the city manager just answered that this is going to be a new design. So, here we are again. Didn't we do this last summer? Didn't we have community meetings? Didn't we have community consensus on something last year? Maybe we're getting a little more outside the lines as far as amenities and the 3, the 4, the however many lanes people want. But it's just frustrating to see the time wasted when we've done this before, the money wasted. And I have 2 thoughts that I would leave with you. If you do vote this in, I would like to see a contract that each one of you signed, that this is the final time we're going to do this. And if the public asks for certain consensus amenities and lanes, that you agree to that. We stop fooling around. This would be immediate implementation. We're already going to be 9 more months waiting for the final community input, which is March, I think, or May even. So maybe we could get that out of you, finally, a contract. Or you could take that 100,000 roughly, divide by 10 persons who have already done this consensus, who have already done the talking to the people, who already have an idea what the citizens want. You could take that 10,000, or that divide by 10, you get $10,000, and I bet you we got 5 people in this room that would take you up on that $10,000 payment to us as citizens who have heard the talk, done the walk, and we know what the community wants. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else care to speak on item number 2? I need a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'm pleased to move to award the contract for 38th Avenue Public Outreach and Streetscape Design Services to Bertina Design Group, Arvada, Colorado, in the contract amount of $101,623.
And a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Pond. Discussion.
You know what? Don't vote yet.
We're
Oh,
having
we're
a
gonna
discussion.
discuss.
Okay. Now you can.
Does anybody want to discuss? Mr. Starker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I plan to vote for this. I think we have a lot of work invested in 38th Avenue. We've gone down several paths in the past. There was some allegations and some feelings that we hadn't adequately discussed the project and had enough public outreach. And I'm pleased that we've got a group that the strength of their proposal was on public outreach. So I hope that everyone will step forward and be heard in this process, so that we can build something new for our city and be proud of it and move on.
Thank you. Any? Ms. Gooden?
I believe a quote I heard before was that 4 city councils have actually had input and discussed this and worked on it for several years. So this city council did not invent this plan. The prior city councils planned it. There was public input, and there was a lot of planning and meetings and questioning and time spent and money spent planning on this, so I do support a further plan to look into it some more, and I just want to make the statement that this has been going on for quite some time, and think we all are looking for a resolution. I think we all want to see the finished product.
Mr. Urban?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. When I'm looking at this, and I've seen how much we've invested in 38th heretofore, and I'm appreciative of the efforts that have been made so far to revitalize 38th Avenue. My concern continues to be, and as we go through this process, I would like there to be a serious discussion, although we've had this discussion with 4 city councils, there's never been a serious discussion about how we're going to pay for these amenities, for these streetscape designs, in consideration with a lot of other projects that are just as important and have just as much riding on them as far as the future of the city of Wheat Ridge. So as we go forward in this, I'd like there to be a serious discussion about what it is that this will ultimately cost. Is it going to go back up to that $9.3 million figure, or is it something more reasonable? And I would like there to be some discussions around what is this going to cost, because we've talked a lot about the benefits, and that's an important part to flesh out, but there has to be a discussion around the costs, and especially at the front end of a project this large. What I have not seen and continue to see missing from this process is a clear understanding of where are we going to get the money to ultimately pay for whatever plan that this outreach process develops or comes down to, whenever that may be. So I'd like for there at least to be a considerable discussion around that issue as we go forward, because we can talk all day long about how great this is and what the benefits are, but if we're not talking about the cost, we're just fooling ourselves that this is somehow going to magically appear. So I'd like for that to be considered as we go forward.
Mr. Tulio, you've asked to speak?
That's a good question. So let's say we go through this process, we spend the $101,000, and then does that get us and we have the public meetings, does that get us a design that we could actually use to build with, or we could have to go back again and spend another X amount of dollars like we did with IntelliKey, the $40,000? So where does this get us by the middle of next year? Where could we be financially on this? And what's the next step?
Yeah, this process will not give us engineered designs where we can build off of.
It doesn't?
This gives us an initial concept of a streetscape and what it's going to look like. So, Scott, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, that's correct. As we go through the process here, it will be to come up with some options that the citizens and ultimately the city council decide on. If it does involve some sort of engineering design beyond that, yes, that would be additional. But the one direction we have given to the consultant is the curbs where they are, trying to do what we can with that. So I don't think we're looking at something, a major reconstruction like may have been proposed before. So you can keep that in mind.
It was the original, the $40,000 that was spent with IntelliKey, that was based on moving curb and gutter, and that was a more detailed design because of that cost.
Right, it had made that assumption, correct.
So you think this could be cheaper, less expensive?
It could, yes, but we won't know for sure until we get through the process.
Anyone else? I believe we're ready to cast our votes. Or you cast your votes.
Motion carries 8-0.
Ms. Langworthy, item number 3.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 3, a motion to accept Kipling Street rights-of-way and temporary construction easements from the property at the southeast corner of 44th Avenue and Kipling Street. At issue, the city was awarded federal funding for a multi-use trail project on Kipling Street from 32nd Avenue to 44th Avenue through the Denver Regional Council of Government, DRCOG, Transportation Improvement Program, TIP, in March of 2011. The project involves the construction of a trail along the east side of Kipling to accommodate pedestrians and bicyclists. The Kipling Street Trail construction requires utilization of street right-of-ways and easements obtained from various property owners along the property segment. Property owners have conveyed to the city the necessary right-of-ways by warranty deed and have provided temporary construction easements where needed. All but one of the acquisitions were accepted by the city at either the October 13, 2014 or the March 23, 2015 City Council meetings. The rights-of-way and easements for this acceptance are the last parcels at the north end of the project, which required additional time to complete the acquisition process.
Any presentation?
Only if there's questions.
I do have a question. What is the expected date of completion
We're hoping to, by the end of the year, first or January at the latest.
of next year?
Of next year. Currently, as I think if you drive by Kipling, you see it's in progress. Between 32nd and 35th, the CenturyLink is currently finalizing their undergrounding of their power lines. They're doing some splicing of lines and charging and making sure they work before I was gone over the weekend. The pole's down.
Poles aren't down, but all the wires
The wire's down. Okay, so the poles are going to be coming down very soon then, hopefully. And as you can see, they've poured some of the trail concrete along the route. Excel is moving the poles, Excel poles between 38th and 44th are going to be relocated. They're not going to be undergrounded, but that's in the process of being moved so that there's room for the sidewalk too. So with this last acquisition, we can continue that process further north to 44th and hopefully be done by the end of the year.
Mr. Fitzgerald.
Was this is this a second offer, or what was the holdup on this?
Yeah, there was negotiations that had to happen with the property owner. They weren't interested in selling at the appraised price, and so there was a little bit of negotiation until there was a consensus on price, and that has happened.
Is this substantially different from the appraised price?
Not substantially.
Other questions? I don't believe we have any public comment. I have nothing signed up. I believe a motion is in order.
Thank you. Just a second. I went down to the exhibit. I move to accept the Kipling Street rights-of-way and temporary construction easements from the property at the southeast corner of 44th Avenue and Kipling Street.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Wooden. Discussion? Please cast your votes.
Motion carries 8-0.
Item number 4, Councilmember Pond.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion to approve the addition of a full-time public information officer position to jointly support the police department and the city at large. At issue, the demand for the city to engage citizens in new and meaningful ways continues to grow. The addition of a city public information officer position would advance the public communication activities and operations and help meet the demand to engage citizens. Existing staff has done their best to keep up with increasing demands. However, current staffing resources make it difficult to implement new technologies that connect citizens with their local government. It is difficult to be proactive when maintaining the communication tools we use today. Requires so much time and effort. Attachment 2 breaks down historical breakdown of the communication activities and awards the city has received for excellence in communication and marketing.
Is there any presentation from staff on this one?
We can certainly go over what we went over with council last week at the study session if you desire.
How is council comfortable? We had a pretty strong discussion. Meaning yes, that you don't need any further information?
Correct.
Anyone else? Or feel there's anything necessary for the public?
I just think that the financial impact should be read into the record. Not that it's a bad or good thing, just that the financial impact could be read into the record so that it was for public knowledge. That paragraph.
The financial impact?
Sure. Gee, do you want me to, or?
Staff or I could read it in, it doesn't matter.
Oh, it's already in here?
Yeah.
And you'd like to read it?
Read it to the public, yeah, for the record, for the minutes. So I'll read it. The financial impact, overall, the PIO position will be an increase of 1 FTE, which is full-time employee in the 2015 budget. The total amount needed for the remainder of 2015 is $24,733, which can be absorbed in the current budget. Therefore, no supplemental budget appropriation is needed to fund the new position in 2015. The 2015 budget for Stasco agency is $60,000, and this amount is recommended to stay the same. The Stasco agency provides media relations and marketing services to the city. For 2016, this amount will be reduced to $36,000. The decrease of $24,000 will be reallocated to the PIO position. Approximately $90,000, $482 salary and benefits will be budgeted in 2016 to fund this position. Professional memberships and training will also be included in the budget and are not expected to require more than $5,000 in additional funds. The estimated overall increase in the 2016 budget for this position will be $61,482.
Any questions now that you've heard it? Nope.
Is the motion in order?
I believe a motion is in order, yes.
I move to approve the addition of a full-time public information officer position to jointly support the police department and city at large.
Second.
Seconded by, Wooden and, okay. And any discussion? Any more discussion? None? Please cast your votes.
Motion carries 8-0.
That is most of our formal meeting. We're now having a discussion on the proposed 2016 legislative program budget. Patrick, would that be you?
Yes, ma'am. Myself and Heather Geyer will be here to discuss that. In your packet is a memo and a budget printout of the proposed budget for the mayor and city council for 2016. We just put a status quo budget in, but would like to have a discussion with you all tonight before that is brought back to you for further discussion. As you can see from your memo, there's consistently pretty much the same budget every year. We occasionally add a few things, but this budget covers the staff salary for the assistant to the mayor and council. Also covers the salaries or the stipends for the mayor and council. It provides $1,500 for each council member for training, and also $1,500 for each council member for community outreach. And then also provides the mayor an additional $5,500 for community outreach. There's again, some of these line items have been in the budget for the last several years. We put a $6,000 in for a visioning and strategic planning process, $9,000 for National League of Cities lobbying program, and we can talk to these in more detail if you have questions. The Metro Mayor Caucus dues, $2,500. Different memberships to Colorado Municipal League, DRCOG, National League of Cities, Transit Alliance, that's about $35,000. The funds that you donate to outside agencies, nonprofit agencies that provide services directly to Wheat Ridge residents, that's $11,500. The assistance to the Carnation Festival, it's $50,000, and additional expenses to help support that. And then there's also, on the second page of your memo, you see there's a list of other agency requests that the city has received kind of on a consistent basis. And last year was the first year we asked if council would start budgeting these instead of having these come to us throughout the year, and we're trying to have to find money for them. So this is kind of the consistent list where we've been getting requests over the last several years, and I won't go through each of those, but there's numerous ones there, and we have received, I think, requests from each of these different agencies for 2016 that are in the chart.
That is correct. We went ahead and proactively reached out to each of these agencies.
With that, we would just like to have some discussion, and we can go over each item if you like, or if there's just a specific area you want to talk about. If you're fine with the proposed budget that we have in front of you, that's fine too. You can say yes, and we can bring it forward. You're still going to have more time to discuss that at our budget study session in September. But this is just your first initial look. The departments have been looking at their budgets and meeting with Heather and myself this last week. So this is your opportunity to provide your input for your budget before it comes forward.
Mr. DiTullio.
The one question I had on the senior circulator bus, it says that in 2015, our budget, we gave them $52,500. Really, wasn't $22,500 of that really a rebate on their building permit fees? Mm-hmm. Versus?
That is correct. Yeah, I went ahead and included that rebate portion in this amount, so you knew, understood the total amount that we provided in support to SRC.
So yeah, that should be slash. Yeah, thank you for addressing that.
Well, it's been at $30,000 for quite a few years, and of course, expenses go up. And according to this little WIN deal here, it says Denver suburb best to retire. So I really think that that senior circulator bus provides a service to our seniors, and I'd like to see that. Every year I try to get it up a little bit to a higher amount, and it seems like it always ends back at 30,000, but I still would support taking that to 40,000 for the senior circulator bus for next year if council agreed. Everything else to me looks fairly straightforward.
I have a question. I see under the 2014, the Arvada Food Bank, you've listed 15,000 in the column, and in this chart, this list over here is shown as 10,000 in 2015.
Their initial request was 15,000, and after discussion, I believe it was probably at the public hearing for the budget in the fall, it was reduced to $10,000.
So the actual funding was
$10,000.
$10,000.
Yeah, the 2015 amounts that you see in that column reflect the actual amount that the city contributed to those organizations.
So the amount requested now is 15 for
Yes,
2016. And that's also true of outdoor lab. That's 19.4 for 2016. And I see that was shown as 19.4 in 2014. But
Correct.
But it's showing as 0. Oh, that was 2015.
That was an organization that council decided to not fund
Okay.
for this fiscal
This year.
year.
This year.
This year,
But we're
correct.
bringing it back for 2016. Right, good. Mr. Fitzgerald.
In regards to the circulator bus, did SRC request that amount, or did we contact them? If they requested, did they provide any justification for this?
You know, that's a good question. I don't have justification from them. I can request that. It's been a long-standing request, so I would need to ask them for formal documentation.
Did they ask for a specific number this year?
You know what? They did not. I just went ahead and plugged that number in.
I do think they provide a valuable service, and I would probably be amenable to increasing their funding, but the last time they came before us, they really could not say where the money was going. I'd like to see a real justification for how many rides they're presenting and you know, their expenses for the buses and that kind of thing, drivers, all that kind of stuff. I have never heard anything from them that tells us that this money's being spent wisely.
I can request that information.
Just to answer Mr. Fitzgerald's, the agreed upon amount a few years back was the 30,000, and then I think they came in last year for the 42.5 or something like that. So I agree. If we could go back and ask them for a balance sheet or some type of report that shows where that money is going to justify the 42.5 or whatever number they recommend, I have no problem with that. So.
Just for reference, the RTD collar ride is $4.50 a ride.
And we can do that with this whole list. We'll make sure that we do have memos and justification from some of these organizations. I don't think we've received it for everybody, but we'll make sure we have one from everybody before Brent comes back to you.
Ms. Wooden.
My question is about the Carnation Festival and the Zoppe Italian Circus. So it says 50,000 is allocated per contractual agreement. Is that for the whole thing, or what is that 54? Is that for the circus or what?
That's for everything.
Okay, I'm just wondering if after, because we have some time before budget's coming up, if after, you know, the busyness of the Carnation Festival, if we could get more of a line item of what the costs for this Carnation Festival and the Zoppe Circus are. And then I'd also be curious, and I think it'd be a good thing to let the public know how much donations they get, because they get a fair amount of donations for things for the circus and, for the Carnation Festival. And I think if we get the expenses that we're spending, what the city's contributing, and then also what our donations are coming in from other community organizations that are helping with the circus. So nothing right now, but closer to budget.
I was waiting for you. I knew you'd come through with.
I'm the budget person. So just a couple things. I mean, I think a lot of this is obviously there's no one who isn't deserving of these funds, and as we all know, we only have so many funds to distribute. And I think, you know, a couple comments. One, I was going to comment on the Zopi Circus, because at the last, again, I'm the woman that steals the circus again. But I believe kind of the last discussions around the circus was, we're going to see how this year goes. We've changed it from 2 weeks to 7 days, or a weekend or something, 2 days. And I just think we need to, look at some of that. And I believe, again, we've continued to have folks say, you know, we're going to get sponsors that basically we cover, you know, between tickets, sales, and sponsors. You know, we should, you know, we're going to try and be self-sufficient. So I would like to look at that around that Zopi Circus too, so I kind of mirror that. And then the other thing is with Outdoor Lab, again, something I support, something I went to, loved, don't want to take that away from anybody, but we're going from like 0 to 100 miles an hour with giving them 0 last year and then 19,000 this year. So I don't know if there's a way, you know, again, to going back to the folks and saying, hey, we might not be able to give it all to you, but here's a portion of what we can give you. So those were just some significant changes. I say kudos to the Kite Festival, because their donation request was less. So, you know, there's a program that's trying to be a little bit more, again, based off of the response and the process, that they're becoming a little bit more self-sufficient and funding themselves. So I do say hats off to them. And my computer did something funky. Thank you, Jerry. But those are just my general comments. Oh, no, you're fine.
Mr. Starker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Goff, I see a line item here, or Heather, National League of Cities Lobbying Program 9,000, and then we have legislative memberships, and it looks like NLC, which I assume that's National League of Cities. We have another line item in there. Is that, are those two different things?
Yeah, the 9,000 lobbying program is funding to pay for up to 3 elected officials to attend the National League of Cities congressional conference in D.C.
Okay.
And then there is a separate membership fee just to belong to National League.
Okay, so that's not really
And that also includes our forum, the legislative forum that we hold on an annual basis as well.
Right, okay, thank you for that clarification. And I also want to thank you for putting in there some money for the Carnation Festival Battle of the Bands, and I'm looking forward to the bands this weekend.
Are you going to play?
I am not going to play. You wouldn't want me to play a band.
Anyone else? I guess not. I believe that we're done with the discussion.
So no specific direction, I understand, sounds like, just bring it back as is and we'll have further discussion? Okay, but,
Specific memos.
Information.
yeah, except for what you said, of course, more information on Carnation Festival. And, yeah, and then we'll make sure that each of these agencies have more detailed justifications.
In that case, the business meeting is over. Or wait, I don't do that yet. We do need to have city managers' matters.
Thank you. Just hope to see everybody out at the Carnation Festival this weekend. And there was a flyer passed out before the meeting. There is a pancake breakfast before the parade, August 15th at 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. at the Wheat Ridge Grange on 38th Avenue. So come on down.
City attorney's matters.
Actually, I have one quick thing tonight, a request from the judge to get sort of your head nod on a procedural change the judge would like to make to streamline procedure in the court just a little bit. Once monthly, the court has what the court staff refers to as the Animal Day, or Dog and Cat Day at the municipal court. And those are all animal violations ranging all the way from no rabies tags, no license, all the way up to cruel and inhumane treatment. The judge would like to do with at least the rabies and animal license requirements, to deal with those in the same way that they do with, say, proof of insurance. You can show up at the counter in front, show that you now have proof of insurance, pay a set fine and leave and not have to go through sit in court and go through that whole process. It makes enormous sense. And I've looked at the 2 code sections involved, 410 and 431. They both make it unlawful to not have a license or to not have rabies inoculation evidence, but they do not require that there be a specific court process. And I believe that the judge has the authority, frankly, to enter a little order, that the minute order, they call it, that the court staff would follow, so as to kind of free up a fair amount of time and move on with other more important animal cases, rather than just these that really just take up a lot of time to get processed. Unless there's real objection to that at all, I will tell him to go ahead and do that. I'll ask him to share a copy of his order with me so that I understand that it will be understandable and efficient for the citizens when they do come in. And then I'll suggest he enter that order and I'll provide a copy to you.
So it doesn't look like you need anything other than agreement as far as.
Right. Fair enough. Yes, that's right. I just want to make sure there was no particular heartburn. I wouldn't think that there would be, but I wanted to share with you that he's thinking about this, and I think it's a good thing for the court to be a little more consumer friendly, really. Thanks.
Sounds like that's going to work. Okay, City Clerk.
Nothing tonight. See everybody at the festival.
And Mr. DiTullio? We'll do it.
Yes, just to piggyback on what the city manager had mentioned, there's a pancake breakfast August 15th at 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. It's going to be at the Wheat Ridge Grange, which is at 3850 High Court. For more information, call Dominic Breton at 303-919-2680. And Wheat Ridge Grange is at 3850 High Court. It's right next to the Wheat Ridge Cyclery. And donations are appreciated. Like them on Facebook and RSVP.
Ms. Davis.
Thank you. So first of all, I'd like to thank Dominic for arranging the pancake breakfast and actually a lot of the other things you do from the Grange, the potlucks and stuff. So thank you for all your work on that, because I know you do a lot of work to bring the community together. So thank you for that. The other thing is hope to see everybody at the Carnation Festival. Woo-woo. And if you're on the streets of the parade, you'll be getting this fan. So hope to see everyone there and at the fireworks show and in the parks, and see you this weekend.
Thank you. Mr. Urban.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to remind everybody school's coming back into session, and that means there's cars zipping in and out of neighborhoods that haven't been there all summer long. So just ask you to, number one, drive slowly through our neighborhoods as you come back to school, and also just be mindful of the kids out in the street and whatnot. Just drive slow.
Mr. Starker?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just want to say thank you in advance to all of the people and that have worked on the Carnation Festival and the Zope Circus. I think it's going to be a great weekend. Look forward to seeing everybody there. Thank you.
Just want to wish everyone a great festival, and I echo Mr. Urban's comments. Summer's coming to an end, if you can believe that, and kids are getting back in school. So let's keep our eyes out as we kind of adjust to our new summer or school schedule.
Thank you, Mr. Pond. Mr. Fitzgerald.
On behalf of the Wheat Ridge Business District, I would just like to say I'm really happy that there's a new owner at the Gold's Shopping Center who plans a complete renewal of the center. He's applied for some of our matching grants, and his design looks really good.
Great. Ms. Langworthy.
Thank you. I'd just like to thank the city for getting the construction or the pavement, the overlay done on Miller Street, because 2 schools service that road on the north and the south end, and it was quite painful to drive around the bumps for a while. And so I've noticed that they've gotten it completely paved. It looks smooth, ready for school, which does make it a little easier for the parents to get their kids back and forth. And this is my 8th year as a Carnation Parade, so I guess it's my last one, and I look forward to being out there and waving my little fan. Thank you.
Councilman Wood.
I just want to add to what Mr. Urban and Mr. Pond said. There was a meeting last week for the Safe Routes to School group, and that group is working on not only contacting each school about safe routes for school for kids both walking and biking. And at the first part of October, there's a national Walk to School Day, and they will be having pop-up centers along the areas where we do have a lot of kids walking or biking to school. So there's going to actually be a campaign for the next several weeks. Keep your eye out for that, and it will end with the Walk to School Day. I think it's October 8th, and it's a very dedicated group to walking and biking and safety for kids. So thank you to those volunteers and all the work they're doing.
Thank you. You wanted to say something about National Night Out because it was very successful and lots of people came? Is that what you want to say?
I did, but I had passed my thing, but I was glad to be there and glad to have it, so National Night Out.
I get to announce that at the end of the month, August 31st, excuse me, we have decided to do a town hall meeting. It'll be called Face to Face because we're really going to be making quite an effort to have more opportunity for our citizens to talk with ourselves as well as staff on that meeting. That'll be at the rec center, and we will be sending out postcards. So we'll have more opportunity at the beginning of the meeting, then we'll have short presentations, and then the end, the meeting will end once again with face to face, because we're all very aware that our citizens would like to be heard more, and as well as have some conversations about what's going on. And with that, I say good night, and we'll be passing these out at the festival, and we'll see you there. Good night and good luck. All right.